Well, it's a brand new year, but it's the same old story of killings in Kaduna State, northwest Nigeria. In fresh attacks, gunmen killed 7 family members and 17 others in Igabi and Zaria local government area of the state. Adewale, indeed, it is a new year, and bandits seems to have the bandit attack seems to be far from over. How worrying is this concern if we're not dealing with this issue head on?
It's a very unfortunate thing. The bandits attacked 13 villages in Kerewa ward and the Sabon Birnin village in the Igabi local government in Kaduna State. I remember that we were here last year in January, and we started the year with notes of blood, of anguish, of pain, due to attacks of bandits all over the country. This is a very sad development again, beginning from this year. And from what we read, they came in large numbers. They took up from a particular place. Nobody saw them, even though they were in large numbers, on bicycles. And they were not in tropical forest. They were in savannah area that they could easily be sighted. They drove several kilometers, got to this village, Sabon Birnin village, attacked the people, killed people from the same family, then attacked 13 villages and killed so many people, and then they left. And you could imagine, they were not, they didn't come with fighter jets that could live within it would take them hours. And then no police, no security, no drones. And as we speak, they are somewhere, gathered together, probably eating, marrying, after inflicting misery, on the lives of human beings. So it's a very unfortunate thing. As we speak now, this thing happened on Monday. Today is Wednesday. We've now read about arrests being made. And this is happening in Kaduna again, a state that used to be one of the most peaceful places in this country. It used to be the melting pot of the north, a convergence of different ethnic groups. Right. In fact, the political headquarters of northern Nigeria. And with a lot, in fact, it has the highest concentration of security institutions. You talk of the NDA, you talk of the Air Force, you talk of infantry, everything in Kaduna, military institutions and all that. And then this state is being continuously raped and pillaged by armed men. So it's very unfortunate. And like we are saying about federalism, I'm sure that the governor is not happy about what is going on, but his hands are tied. Is limited. By the objective reality of the kind of federalism we practice. They can't just order police deployment. He has to resort to some starting institution before, and he can give that order, it could be ignored. So it reminds us that, when we are talking about federalism, it's not just about Lagos. It's also about every state, giving the situation objective and subjective situation that confront them.
Right. Point taken there, Diwali. Now, Sam, I remember a time we had an interview with Abubakar Sheikh Gumi, a spokesman of the so-called bandits, and he was making a case for these bandits as Fulani herdsmen who had been neglected and not compensated for their cattle that has been, stolen through cattle rustlers and all of that. But the situation seems to have gotten beyond control. Now, what do you make of this, and how much longer do you think these killings and attacks will continue if we're yet to find a lasting solution to this problem?
Esther, sadly, the killings and attacks will continue for as long as we pay lip service to the matter. And I think that is what obtains, at the moment. A criminal is a criminal. Sometimes I find it very difficult to swallow the arguments advanced by Sheikh Gumi. You understand? Because it's a different kind of scenario. You go out, you kidnap people, you kill them. It's not the same thing as somebody who is angling for control over his resources. This is a simple case of somebody not thinking that life is worth it. You just kill people, you don't stop at that, you burn them. It's pure criminality. And we cannot continue to pay lip service to it. People who commit crimes against the state should be brought to justice. That's my immediate response to it. And I think we need to, help the people who are watching us or people who are listening to us with the very sobering figures. The Kaduna State government on its own admitted that in the first 9 months of last year, 888 people were killed. We need to begin to put figures to these things. First 9 months. the last, between July and September, we had over 343 killed. That's a third of what happened between January and September of last year. In December, 38 persons killed. So, just like our colleague said, I mean, we are beginning to see same trend. We don't seem to be in a position to, to manage it. All right. Yes, people can be aggrieved about certain things. I mean, when you feel that your rights have been infringed, if you feel you're not getting justice, the best way to go about it is not to kill people just like that,
but
for the sake of killing.
But they claim they've made reports to the police, and they even have to be extorted in some
Who are
cases.
those making the reports? The bandits?
The Fulani headsmen, according to Sheikh Gumi, that they've made the reports, and at the end of the day, they don't get response, and they are left with no other option but to take up arms and perhaps do the needful for themselves.
Esther, you and I know that argument is very, very porous. All right, you can't resort to self-help. The law is there. That argument it has been made just to find excuses to kill. It's indefensible. It's purely indefensible. In the last couple of weeks, we see what is playing out. The man who is probably one of the most notorious criminals in the Northwest axis appears to be reaching out to government. And so some of the kidnapped victims who were released a couple of days ago was because he wants to send a signal that we are ready for peace and all that. You can't take up arms and kill people recklessly and say the reason you're doing that is because you reported to the police and your complaints were not addressed. The state understands what is playing out. We know where these criminals are. And that is why probably the government has said, look, we are going to deal with this in the next 17 months. I don't know how easy that is going to be for the government.
So you're doubtful about it?
Oh, very, very doubtful about what will be accomplished in 17 months. What you couldn't do in 6 years, you want to do that in 17 months? Now, if that is possible, it will tell Nigerians that all the while the government has been simply hypocritical about its approach to managing national security. If you know you could do this in 17 months, then why did you have to wait for this long? Why did you have to wait for 880 people to be killed in one state in 9 months? We're just talking about one state, meaning that the figures could run into several hundreds or even thousands across the entire Northeast and the Northwest. Not talk about what is happening down in the South. So do we have to wait? Do we want to play politics with this? It shouldn't be. So for the likes of Gumi, who have access to these criminals, I call them criminals. That's what they are. He should be able to convince them to lay down their arms. Killing people wantonly, it can't be the answer. You cannot defend a situation where you kill people and burn them, including pregnant women and children who are very vulnerable. Esther.
I can imagine the level of passion and emotions running high with this issue. But Adewale, what other strategies do you think needs to be adopted that you think hasn't been applied in addressing this situation? So that we do not have a situation where every minute or every week we have to report cases of people being killed in the north. What strategies needs to be changed if we're to get a perfect solution? Well,
it's a whole lot of combination of many factors, of many solutions. But I think one major solution is that states should have more powers over security affairs. One instance is that if a state government wants to buy drone, you have to apply to the National Security Advisor. It will take a long time before it is approved. So state governors, if they have drones, they have their own. A small tactical group of even about 500 people can do this job. They can mobilize them within the shortest time. With drones, you can sight where you can even strike them there. So, but we have a lot of bureaucratic bottlenecks that does not give the states powers to deploy decisively and overwhelmingly and at the appropriate time. If there is a crime, you need to get to the police commissioner. It needs to get to the IG. If it's of this kind of monumental proportion, before actions could be taken. So states should be given more powers. And that's why we are talking about the issue of restoration. It's a fundamental thing that we need to address. It's a fundamental thing. And of course, when we are talking about buy arms, attacking them and all that, there must be an economic roadmap. You know, because as long as people are poor, that they cannot eat, and as long as they are being led by corrupt people, people will be recruited into the army of crooks and criminals, because they know that with AK-47 they will survive. They can go to the market and harass people. They can harass farmers. With a gun, you will survive. So we need an economic roadmap that will give people more jobs, you know, that will give more access to education, access to opportunities, so that crime will be the least incentive for a lot of disgruntled people, millions of disgruntled youths all over the country.
Yeah, in terms of economic roadmap as proposed by Adewale Sam, what would you say the government isn't doing to, you know, capture everyone that is, you know, not under the safety net? Because, for instance, many of the youths that are unemployed, they find themselves to be easily recruits of these heinous crimes. Now, what would you propose the government do in this regard, in terms of ensuring that everyone is busy without having to be falling prey to, you know, evil tendencies and criminal activities, as it were?
I think for me, it's about leadership, and those who are in authority should lead by example to start with. We agree that our value system has totally collapsed. So it starts there. What kind of signals are those at the helm of affairs sending to those who are being led? So leadership for me is very critical. And I think that beyond what our colleague Ade has talked about, there's also that need, beyond the safety net that you talked about, you know, the handouts and all that. There is need to create infrastructure that can empower the people on their own.
Right.
All right. So rather than give fish or whatever it is called, teach people to fish. And the only way we can achieve that is to ensure that the enabling environment is created. All right. The right infrastructures are in place for people to take their destiny in their own hands. So that is very important. It's very important. So leadership for me, creating the right enabling environment for people to, I mean, we talk about power. Do you know what it means, or it will mean, that we'll have steady power supply, you know, across most parts of the country? It means that the artisans can go ahead and do what they want to do and earn a living. All right? So this for me is important. Leadership is key. Those who are superintending over us have, by their conduct, you know, saying to the rest of us that it pays to loot, it pays to steal, it pays to be corrupt. So everyone who is down the ladder thinks that the easiest route to get rich is to be corrupt. So we need to win ourselves of that mentality. Okay? It's very important. In addition to what, you know, Adeoye has talked about, it is important that our leaders realize that the kind of signals we send to our people, you know, will condition them, you know, to a very large extent, the way they also manage or conduct themselves.
Right.